Welcome to the Connect with BMC Helix ITSM and Remedy webinar. During this session, you're able to ask questions of our panelists, and a week from today's presentation, the presentation recording and Q&A will be published to our YouTube channel and communities. This month's topic is Smart Reporting Best Practices for Advanced Report Creation, and Daniel and Bharath will take us through this content. I will hand it over to Daniel now.
Thanks, Greg. Welcome to the Smart Reporting Best Practices for Advanced Report Creation. My name is Daniel Marrujo. I'm a staff specialist, technical support analyst, and also with me is my colleague Bharath Kumar, and that is also a staff specialist, technical support analyst for Smart Reporting. These are the topics for today. We'll have an overview of what Smart Reporting is. Also, what are the tool enhancements regarding to report creation for 2002, and of course, the advanced report creation section. And at the end, as always, we'll give you the reference for all this information. I'd like to start with an overview of what Smart Reporting is. Some time ago, we made a basic webinar for report creation, so you can find the link at the end of this presentation. This introduction was also mentioned on that presentation, so I'll give you an overview of what the tool is. So Smart Reporting is an ad hoc BI reporting tool. As you know, it's fully web-based. It connects directly to the AR server. It's not a normal BI tool that connects to a database. It connects to the AR server, and then the AR server connects to its own database to fetch the data. The advantage to have it like this is that we will inherit the role level security, or RLS, to fetch the data and to review the permission of each of the users. So this is a basic architecture about how Smart Reporting looks like. In here, you have the two mid-tier servers, and in here, you have two Smart Reporting servers. At the top of them, there's a load balancer, and of course, Smart Reporting to work need a metadata database that it's independent. Smart Reporting to fetch the data, as I said before, connects to the AR server through AR JDBC, and then the AR server go down to its own database to fetch the data. This is very basic and very high level about what the Smart Reporting is. Just keep in mind that this is a business intelligence tool. It's a very, very powerful tool, and it's fully web-based as a reporting solution to fetch all your information from the AR server. These are the core components of Smart Reporting. First, we have the data source that in our case is the AR server. This is where all information is, your incidents, your work orders, everything is on the AR server, and we need to connect there to fetch the information. Then the second component, and that is very important, is the views. The views is nothing but a set of forms. There's a view builder where you can arrange all the fields with all the respective joins to make it easier to make your reports. So you won't have to make all these joins all the time. You can save it in a general view that will contain the most used fields, and then just consume this view to make any report. Again, this predefined view. There are some out-of-the-box views that will make your life easier, but if this doesn't fulfill your requirement, you can always edit these views or create new ones on any forms of the AR server. If you want to know better about all these core functions, you can go to the basic webinar, as I said before, to review all this information in our latest webinar. So the third component is a report. I think most of you may be familiar with the creation of a report. So that's also a core component. The last component is a dashboard. that is a set of reports just arranged in a special way to show or tell you a story with the data from the AR server. So that said, we also have storyboards and timeline streams and tasks. And as I say, if you want to know more about this, you can refer at the end of this presentation to get to all the links of this information. These are the topics that we're going to talk about over this webinar. We'll start with the advanced authoring and the freehand SQL report. Also talk about the subqueries, the union append, and the new minus. Also, we're going to go over what is a call display report, what is a drill-through report, what is the advanced functions that we have on Smart Reporting, an overview over the predefined functions, and also different case statements for calculated fields, and the new functionality on the DBFN functions. And also, I'll talk about the top enhancements related to report creation on 2002. So we have two in this category. We have a better handling of the CLOB data type objects, and also there's a very good enhancements on the role level security. Let me speak of this first. So what's new on the CLOB types? First, we need to know what is a CLOB. What is a CLOB field? A CLOB field is a very large field in the database. It's up to 4 GB of data. So it is very difficult to deal with the CLOB fields, not only on Smart Reporting, but on any BI tool or any query that we do to the database. So what we normally do, or what we normally try to do with the CLOB field, is to convert it. Instead of having a CLOB field, you can convert it to a varchar, and it will be very easy to use these fields. There were some issues with the AR side to perform this transformation, and that's the new improvement that we got on the AR server side. And also we have some best practice in here. The first one is to use only the CLOB field. It is absolute requirement. CLOB fields contains this very detailed information. A good example is the detailed description. So that's a very common field that the customers usually use. But my recommendation is only use it if really required. Remember, this is a business intelligence tool, and it's meant to just have a resume of the data. Of course, you can get down to details, but be very careful to when using CLOB fields, because it has a lot of stress to the database. And with that being said, the second point is to avoid large reports. Do not do plus 10K rows. This makes no sense on a business intelligence tool, because there's no way to read that much lines. Instead, there's many other options like the drill through, or just to summarize your data to show what the end user will need to see. That's what business intelligence is about, not just extracting information and then transform it into other tool. No, please use Smart Reporting as a BI tool. So the next point is to avoid the use of listing, and this is not for only Smart Reporting. If you do a quick search on Google about how to query CLOB fields, they will tell you to avoid using listing on the SQL statement. Smart Reporting, it's not a difference. So how to do it? How to remove listing? Listing is by default on any query on the Smart Reporting, but there's a very easy way to remove this from the query. You need to check the show duplicates. I know it says show duplicates, and most of our customers say, hey, but I don't want duplicates on my reports. I think this may be kind of misspelled or something like that, because the only thing that the show duplicates checkbox do is to remove the listing from your query. I will show you this later on a demo, but it's not a big deal to check the show duplicates. It also increased performance because, as you may know, to avoid using this thing on a query, and not only talking about the smart reporting, this will increase the performance of any query that you send or fire into the database. And the last point that was the enhancement here is the transformation to varchar. This was enhanced, and that's what I really recommend. If you really need to use CLOB field, please first convert from CLOB to varchar. There's a predefined functions on the calculated fields, and you can use this to reduce the stress to your database. That being said, let me demo the show duplicates and where is this predefined function. Okay, so let me show you how to use the CLOB fields. So let me start a quick report against incident management. And let me drag some fields like the incident number hyperlink. Another good one will be status. And a CLOB field that I will use will be request description. So let me show you how this report looks at this point. And let me add these to filters to just show the values that has some data. Not no. Okay, this is my data now. And let me show you how the SQL statement looks like at this point. So as you can see, you have the distinct that is by default, and you have all my tree fields. And let me show you how to remove the distinct. It's pretty easy, as I said before. You just need to mark this. Refresh the report. And as you can see, the distinct go away. This will increase the performance not only for CLOB fields, but for any report. And this is not only for smart reporting, but for any SQL query that you run. And the calculated field that I was talking about is in here. Converted request description. It's a predefined one. You can convert CLOB to varchar. You need to select the CLOB field, and this is the request description. Click OK, and just save it. Will be under my calculated fields. You just need to drag it in here. And let me quickly show you how the SQL looks like. As you can see, now we have a string convert in here, converting my field. So at this point, we no longer need this field, so we can take it out. And the resultant query will look like this. I really recommend you to use this string convert. And also, if you have a larger resort than mine, your report will run faster than this. So that's all for this demo. Let me get back to the slides. Okay, let's move to the second enhancement. Second enhancement is the role level security that instead for RLS, there was a new implementation on 2002 to treat better how the query is sent to the database. Before this implementation, this is how a query looks like. As you can see, and it's highlighted in here, all the check for the groups that this user is allowed to see information were sent in the query. This causes a very great impact on performance when the users were not administrator. But with the new RLS implementation, it's reduced to this. Can you see the difference? It's a very huge difference. It's almost half of the query that was cut off. So if this runs like in 2 or 3 minutes, this runs in seconds. So as I said before, we got a better performance for non-admin users. It was a change in the query construction. Of course, better queries means better performance on the database. And a very important point is that this is not out of the box. The way this works, new RLS create a new table when you enable it, a table that inherits all the permissions. That's why on the query it's not in there, because it's already on the copy of the table that gets created. So that's a trick in here. A new data set gets created from whatever form you select, and this makes the data flow easier. Let me show you real quick how to enable this. So for this, you need to go to the Dev Studio. And first of all, you need to click on Forms. You need to select the form where your field is. For example, if you want to make this on the HPD help desk, that is a very common form, you need to select it. You need to go to Definitions and search for the Role Level Security tab. And on here, you need to select Subquery. You need to change from default to subquery, and this will automatically create a copy of the HPD help desk into an inherit permission table that will allow a better access and increase the performance. So these are the steps. I will not go that deep on this, but more information will be added at the end of this presentation. Another very good tool is to use the Freehand SQL. If you remember, I talked to you before that the reports can get access when creating a view or directly from the database. So that's why a view is not required to use this advanced authoring function. It's a simplified way to get your required information, and you can do calculations on the fly. One important point in here is that you won't be allowed to use filters in here. You need to put the where statements on the SQL statement on the builder. But this is a very good tool if you already know what dataset you will need. A good example for this is that you spend so much time on doing a report, and you already have that dataset, but you don't want to recreate the report, and you want to make more calculations on it. So you fetch the query from that report and just do a new one using the advanced authoring, and just modify the query a little to have just your report in one go. You won't need again to drag and drop fields and stuff like that. You can just have this freehand SQL report in just one go. Let me show you how this works. So you need to create a new report and clicking here on the advanced authoring. Data source will be the AR system. And for the SQL query, we will use the same query that we use for CLOB fields. Do you remember this query? So basically the advantage of this is that you can run simple reports just as quick as this, and you will get the same amount of information. And also, if you know this language well, you can call some other fields in here or make any other calculations here on the fly. And for some advanced users, it will be easier and faster to do this than to start dropping fields. So let me validate this. SQL is valid. We need to save it. And we can go to data. We will get the same amount of information as we get into our last report, and we don't have to drag and drop any fields in here. This is for, as I said before, advanced users that knows how to create these kind of queries and want to do it the old-fashioned way, to create their queries directly and make any case statements on the fly. This works very well because it's a faster way to get your reports created. So that's pretty much it. As I said before, you won't be able to add any filter in here because you will need to get back to the SQL and modify the where statement, because a filter is nothing more than a where statement. But anything that you need to modify in the data will need to be done directly on the SQL query. So this one is simpler. There's just another way to get your data without using a view, and it's very convenient for the advanced users that knows the language very well. So that's it. Let me get back to the slides. Next topic is subqueries. The fifth subquery that I'm going to talk about is union. So basically, in union, you can combine multiple fields or related fields into just one column. A very simple example is to have incidents and work orders into a same report and then just stack them together. So only use this if it's really required, because there are other alternatives that like co-display reports, and this will have a better performance because there will be two different queries that will be sent to the database instead of just one big query with the union in the middle of that. So this example says that you have two sets of data in here, and you want to just append this data one below the other. This is the only function of union, just stacks information in case of required. The second subquery is the append one. So this basically is used to append the results of one query into another, into a new column. And a very common use case of this is that you have two different sets of filters, as it says here on the example. The first query, or the master query, you have a filter for this. For example, your filter here is status equals to open, and the results are these ones. And then you want to have this with a different filter. For example, the second query, you have a status equals to close, and you want to have these together. So you have description A and description B. The first one has the result for open, and the second one has the result for close. This is the most basic use case for using the append, but it has a really good use. If you want to have different filters about the same information, you can use the append subquery. And the last and the new one is the minus. So this is used to take distinct rows of one query and return only the rows that are not in the second result set. So you are subtracting information from one query into the other one. So this is the basic example. On the first query, you have a good set of information, and you need to subtract this set of information. For example, in the second one, you have Joanne, Jane, and Justin, and the one that matches are Jen and Justin. So Joanne will not matter because we're just subtracting the values that match. So the result of this query will show, as it says here, will show John, Jack, Jim, Jen, and Janet, and remove these two values. So this one no show up is underlined in here. This will help you a lot to avoid setting very complex filter logic. You can use this minus. You can join the views on the fly, and this will remove the need to modify views on the fly. So let me do a demo of the three types of subqueries. Okay, let's start with the union subquery. So let's create a new report versus the incident management. For this, let's use, let's say, incident ID and the priority of the incident. And let's shrink the data by status. And let's say this will be in progress. So we will have a better idea of what this information is. So this is our first query. We have all the incidents that the status is in progress and the priority assigned to these tickets. Now let's stack using the union. So let me select union. Let me go advanced because we want to get data from the problem management. So the source will be the AR system, and the view that we're going to use for this example will be problem management. Click OK. So incident ID, let's make it match with problem ID. So they will be on the same column. And let's say priority. See if there's a field. Yeah, there's a field that says priority also in here. So let me save this one and run it at this point. So right now we have a union for the incidents that have a status in progress and all the problem management IDs. So let's also shrink the problem management. You need to click in here to go to the subquery. Now let's drag another field. For example, let's say in the union, let's use again status. And let's say that the investigation status equals to, I don't know, let's pick assign. That's fine. Let's save this. Let's run. So right now on this report, we have a union of two queries. The first one are all the incidents that are into the status in progress. And we have all the problem management IDs that are on the status in assign. So the SQL query looks like this. Here we have the union. We have one query in here and the other one below. So this is just to stack your information. Look at it like this, and then you can maybe sort the information in a different way as you desire. So this is helpful, but if you get too big, it can cause performance issues. So there are other alternatives like using co-display that we are going to explain later. So this is the first query, really simple. Just use it to stack information one below the other. So the next point is the append query. So let's use the same canvas. Let me delete the union subquery. And let me get other fields for this example. Have a clean canvas. And let's start with first name. Let's say for this example that we want a report for all of our employees and how many incidents do they have. So my master report will look like this. basically all the incidents regarding status or any other criteria that each of the users has. So what is Append about? Append, the most use case that we can have is, for example, okay, I have all the number of incidents in here, but I want to know how many of these were canceled. So we can add a subquery, an append subquery and a basic one, because we're talking about the same information. Let's say these are left rejoin, because if there are not matching values, we still want the data from the main query. So let's match, starting with first name will be equal to first name. And the only difference will be the status. Save this. So for this example, we'll need another copy, of course, of number of incidents. And the status for the subquery will be canceled. Okay, so this guy has 12 canceled tickets, and this guy only have one canceled ticket. So we can rename this field to make more sense, and let's rename it for canceled. Now, with the append subquery, we know how many of the total tickets were canceled. And we can add any other examples like this. Let me add another append. The same one, first name equals to first name. But the status will be different. Now let's use as an example the assign. The status, it says, is for assign. Oh, sorry, I was missing the copy of the number of incidents. So now we know how many of these total tickets are on the assigned status. We can change the format to make more sense. And this is one of the basic functions for using the append subquery. You have different set of filters displaying in different columns, but for the same information. This is very, very useful for this kind of reports that you want to create. Let me quickly show you how the SQL looks like. So you have the left of the joins, but with different status on each of the cases. Okay, so that's a pretty simple example that we can do with the append subquery, and let me show you the last one. So let me clear this one. And create a new report to show you how the minus works. For this example, let's use status again. And let's count our number of incidents. So in this example, we have all the set of data in here. So as I said before, we can use minus as kind of a complex filter. In this case, we're not going to go that deep, just show you how this looks like. So just take a look. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kind of a status. So let me add a minus. It will be under the status. You're also going to exclude the status with the filter also on the status. Save this. At this point, there's no result because we haven't set the filters yet. On the minus, we will need to set what data we're going to exclude. For this example, let's exclude, I don't know, let's say assign and in progress. And this data should not show up on the resultant query. So we used to have 6 results, and now with the minus, we subtract these fields. So this is how the SQL statement looks like. It's just it add in the word statement what do you want to exclude. For this example, was assigned and in progress. So this is how the minus subquery looks like. It's just when you have a very complex set of data that you want to exclude, you can use the minus to avoid using lots of complex filter criteria in here. So that's pretty much it for the subqueries. Let me get back to the slides. That's all from my side. All over to you, Bharath. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Daniel. Hello, everyone. My name is Bharath Kumar, and I'm working for Smart Reporting product line in BMC software. Today, I will start with the advanced report creation using the co-display feature in Smart Reporting. So co-display feature allows you to add 2 or more reports to be seen at the same time, either side by side or one on top of the other. Co-display helps you to add different reports in a single page and view them at a time, which avoids opening the different reports, where it saves some of your time and also the system performance. You can also export all the reports to either Excel or PDF format. So when you export the co-display report to Excel format, it exports each tab into the separate Excel tab. You can have either tabular report in one tab and charts in another tab when using co-display reports, which is useful in better arrangement of your data. Next, we will talk about the drill through reports. So drill through is a feature in Smart Reporting where you go into the detailed report from the master report by passing the filter values from one report to the other. So when a report has drill through enabled, it will have a hyperlink field on them. And when the hyperlink is clicked, a new report will open, which we call the child report or the detailed report. So in short, you can say you're drilling down from a summary report to a detailed report. So drill through works with both the charts and the tabular reports, and it is mandatory to have filter values in the child report, as we are passing the values from master report to the child report. Next, we will talk about the advanced functions which are used to transform the result set by applying the post processing calculations to the query results. So these functions are database independent as they are performed at the runtime. So basically these are the analytics, statistical and text type functions that are available, which takes away the need to have a calculated field in the report. Since it is a runtime calculation, it does not have any impact on the your source AR server. This will also help you in analysis of your data between the different columns on the fly. Next, we'll talk about some of the predefined functions that are available in the calculated fields of Smart Reporting. As you all know, we can create 3 types of calculated fields, one of which is predefined. So predefined calculated fields uses custom functions that are defined in the Smart Reporting and are stored in an Excel format. So basically these are the Excel functions that are shipped with the installer and which are not easy to generate in the formula builder. So predefined calculations does not need any SQL validation or the data validation, and they are easy to use in the Smart Reporting reports. And we have another type of calculations, which is simple type. So using simple, one can write the nested case statements or apply the aggregations like sum or distinct, min and max. And you can also convert the data on the fly, and it helps in building the complex calculated fields, the case statements especially. So the case statement allows you to create new values in the columns based on the business logic. And then we have the freehand SQL calculated field, which allows you to build a calculation by writing the SQL, rather than using the builder. So you can enter a SQL fragment here, not including the select keyword or the from or where clauses. So any columns that we are referencing in the freehand SQL must exist in the view. And we also have a new custom DBFN function form in the AR server, where you define the database functions, and they are consumed in the freehand SQL calculated fields. So we'll look into it in detail in the coming slides. So let's have a quick demo how these functions work. So I'm logged into my smart reporting console. I'll first create a report using the incident management view. So I'll create two reports and add them together using the co-display feature. So this is a cross-tab report with status and priority of the incidents. I'll save this report with incident cross-tab him. Now we'll create another report or a chart. And let's take status as filter in this report as well. So I have the fields. Now I'll add them in the chart. I'll take a pie chart. Size we want by number of incidents, and color we want to differentiate by status. Okay, we have the data. Now let's publish this. Okay, that's the report output. So let's go to the browse page and we'll open the incident cross-tab report that we first created. Right click and edit. This is our cross-tab report. So now I will select co-display and you will see the related reports tab got added here. So I'll go to the related content. And I search for the incident chart, the one we just created. And I will add it to the co-display, right? Like I said, we can have co-display tabbed, co-display top, right and bottom. So I added the chart to co-display right so that it will be displayed on the right side of my report. Now I go to the design. That's my report output. This filter is for the tabular report alone. So if I pass any values to the filter, it will just update my tabular report and not the chart. So now we will link the filters as well from the between the two reports, so that when you pass the filter values for the tabular report, that will also update the or reflect the changes in the chart as well. Since we have status as common filter in both the reports, so let's join status to status, update and publish the report. Okay, that's our report output. Let's apply some filter values for status: assigned, pending and in progress. As you can see, the data got updated in both the tabular and the charts. Similarly, we can have it in co-display, tabbed. I'll delete it from the co-display right. And add it to co-display tabbed. And I'll join the filter again, the status filter from master report to the status filter to the chart. Let's publish this again. So as you can see, the first tab we have the tabular report, and in the second tab we have a chart. Similarly, you can have a number of charts. So that's about co-display reports, where you can have multiple reports at the top, right or bottom, or even the different tabs. Now let's look at the drill through report creation. So we have the incident crosstab report, which we just created. So I will remove the code display from it. So that's the crosstab report looks like. So this is our summary report, and next we will create another report with the detailed information. So in the detailed report, I'll take incident ID, status, reason, and which gives more details about the incident, and I'll take the status and priority filters. Let's name it as detailed report. So in drill through, the fields which exist in the master report should exist as filters in the detail report or the child report. So we have two reports now. So let's go to our main report or the master report. Okay, that's our report, and I'll enable drill through using the radio button here, and it will open the related content tab. Now I will search for the detail report that we just created and add it in the drill through pane. So the tricky part here is the filters from the child report, which are status and priority, should be joined to the fields of the master report. So status field from master report, I have joined it to status filter from the child report. And similarly with priority field, now I will enable the hyperlink on the number of incidents. Let's publish this report. Okay, now you see the drill through got enabled. The hyperlink got applied on the number of incidents. So if I click on the number 2, it should give me the details of those 2 incidents. There you go. Now I go back. Similarly, if I click on this number 5, it should give me the details of the 5 incidents. So it's like we are drilling down from a summary report to the detailed report. So that's how drill through report works. Now let's look at the advanced functions that are available in the reports. So I'll edit the report. And I'll take a number of incidents and assign group in my report columns, and I'll also take assign group in the filter. Let's refresh the report. Okay, that's my data looks like. Now let's go to the advanced functions. So to see the advanced functions, you have to go to the field properties and click on the advanced function link, and it will open the advanced function window. As you can see, there are different types of functions available. Some for analysis functions and statistical functions, and then the text functions. So let's apply some ranking from the analysis function. Let's take top and rank based on the assigned groups. So I want to display the top 5 assigned group which has most number of incidents. Okay, like you see, second level assigned group has more number of incidents, 69, and it is ranked 1, and followed by my ITSM, IT support, and the others. Similarly, we have accumulative total, which is a running total of the incidents. So as you can see, one is the number of incidents, and the other one is the running total of the incidents. So this running total, this is useful in case you're creating a trend chart where you want to display the trend of the incidents submitted. Similarly, there are other advanced functions like median, mean, bottom 10 rank, and percentage. So we have a documentation which talks about each of these functions. So if you're interested in using them, please go through the documentation. Now let's apply a text function on some dimension fields. So I have two dimension fields, first name and last name. So let's concatenate them using the advanced functions. So the functions that you see, those depend on the data type that you're using in the report. For example, for numeric fields, you have analysis, statistical, and text functions. And for dimension fields, you see only statistical and text functions. So I'll select text and I'll concatenate first name field with the last name, and to add a space, just check this X box. Okay, that's the users I have, and I'll add the incident ID to the columns. So now we cannot take this column because this is used in the concatenation, so we can just hide this field. Yeah, that's how we can use the concatenation using the advanced function. So next we will look at the calculated fields. Like I said, the three types of calculated fields that you can create: simple, predefined, and freehand SQL. So predefined is where you get the custom functions that get shipped with the installation. Like you see, there are different types of functions available: carry index position, convert CLOB to varchar, and then current date, other date functions, list aggregation, and month function. So basically, these functions are physically located at the installation directory. Let me quickly show you. So there is a custom functions XML file which is located at the smart reporting installation directory, where these functions are written. So this is XML. Let me search with a function name date difference. So this is how the date difference function is defined. So date difference, two arguments, one is start date, other is end date, and then the function date diff in days, argument 1 comma argument 2. Similarly, date diff in seconds, and like you see in the console, the date difference and date difference seconds. So these functions are coming from the custom functions XML, which is located in the install location. So if one has knowledge to add these functions, any additional database functions, you can add this to the custom XML, custom functions XML function, and you will be able to use them in the smart reporting UI. And then we have a simple calculated field where you have the feasibility to write the case statement with multiple when else clauses. And then you can also apply the count distinct, sum, percentage, min and max functions. Another type is the freehand SQL calculated field, where you can write the database function directly. So the SQL, you cannot include the select keyword or from or where clause here. It's only the SQL fragment that is added here. Let's try to create a freehand SQL calculated field. We'll use the date add. So date add will add 7 days plus 7 days to our submit date, which comes from the HPD helpdesk table. Okay, that's date add, submit date plus 7 days. Let's validate it. Okay, the SQL is valid. Now let's add the date add function to the report columns. And the submit date as well. So in this report, you will see the incident ID, its submit date, and plus 7 days added to the submit date. Similarly, we can create a date difference using the Freehand SQL. Date difference in days. So I'm taking day. So it's date difference in days. Start date is reported date and end date is close date. Let's validate. Okay, SQL is valid. So this will give the date difference between the reported date and the close date of the incident. Okay, so the report displays the incident ID, reported date, close date, and submit date. Now we'll add the date difference between the reported date and close date. Okay, like you see, this is how we can calculate the date difference using the Freehand SQL calculated field. So now I will show you the custom DBFN function form that has been introduced in the 1902 version. So this form is available in the AI server, the administration console. AI system JDBC generic DB function. This is a form name where you can define the database functions and make those functions use in smart reporting freehand SQL calculations. So there are some predefined or the out of the box functions that are shipped with the installation. Like you can see char index. The function database type is SQL server and the return type is integer. And you can see the syntax here, char index, the expression to find, to search, and then the start location of the function. And then you see the arguments which are passed to the function. Similarly, there are other available DB functions like concat, this left, len, and there are some database the date functions, date add and date difference. So during the function creation, you will need to pass the syntax and then the return data type and the arguments. So let's create a calculated field using the DBFN function. So we'll use replace function. Will display incidents status with a resolved. We'll display them with closed. We'll replace resolved with closed. Okay, so that's my report. I'll create a freehand SQL calculated field. Like I said, it should always start with the prefix DBFN and then function name and then the value to be the new value which we want to be replaced, and then result which we want to replace, and then the field name. Okay, validation is successful. Okay, like you see here, I have replaced resolved with closed. So let's see the report SQL. You can see incident number from HPD helpdesk and status from HPD helpdesk, and the DBFN function which you see here, which is replacing resolved value with closed. So that's how the DBFN function works in smart reporting. Okay, so just to give a quick reference here, so these are the documentations for smart reporting. The first one is a homepage documentation for smart reporting 2002, and then we have the new subquery RLS documentation, and the next one is about the advanced authoring and calculated fields documentation, and then there's a custom report creation documentation which also has the videos for some of the smart reporting report creation process. And then we have the troubleshooting guide which talks about the some of the common installation and configuration issues. And then we have the link for our previous webinar where we talk about the basics for building custom reports in smart reporting. And then there's a best practice blog where we have added all the smart reporting documentation in one place. So let's take a quick look at the summary of what topics we discovered today. So Daniel initially started with the enhancements of the smart reporting 2002 version, and then how to use the CLOB fields in the report using the new mechanism that we have in 2002. And then we spoke about the new subquery RLS model which improves the query execution time. And then we spoke about the freehand SQL report creation process, and then the advanced report creation using the subqueries, code display, and the drill to reports. And finally, we looked at the calculated fields, the predefined, freehand, and simple, and we looked at the DBFN calculated field as well. That's all I have for today. Thank you. Over to you, Greg.
Thank you, Bharath. And now I'll take us through the self-help in contacting BMC. We have a YouTube channel where this webinar will be posted, as well as a rich set of how-to videos to help you with self-solve. Also, on the Connect with BMC Helix ITSM and Remedy schedule available in communities that has the future schedule as well as past webinars. And also the hot off the press newsletter with a rich set of trending topics. And as usual, to contact technical support via web, phone, or email, as well as these social channels. Thank you for joining this month's Connect with Remedy.